Thanks for reading the Bible with me. We are in Luke 22. Good morning. Verses 24 to 30. I just wanted to remind you we're in the context of the Last Supper. Jesus and his closest friends, the 12 disciples, are having the traditional Passover meal together. And Jesus has been talking to them. He's given them bread and wine and told them it's symbolic of his body and his blood that are about to be broken for them. A very heartfelt and kind of intense moment. And then Jesus announces that one of them, who is actually among them, one of his closest friends, is about to betray him. So that's the context of the next few verses here. Then they began to argue among themselves about who would be the greatest among them. Jesus told them, "In this world, the kings and great men lord it over their people, yet they are called friends of the people. But among you it will be different. Those who are the greatest among you should take the lowest rank, and the leader should be like a servant. Who is more important, the one who sits at the table or the one who serves? The one who sits at the table, of course, but not here, for I am among you as one who serves. You've stayed with me in my time of trial, and just as my Father has granted me a kingdom, I now grant you the right to eat and drink at my table in my kingdom, and you will sit on thrones judging the 12 tribes of Israel." Luke tells us that the conversation devolved into bickering. I don't want to admit it, but I think I can see how it happened. My own heart has enough self-interest that I could conceivably hear all of these devastating predictions from one of my best friends and within minutes be defending my own importance. I can see how, in the stunned silence that followed Jesus' revelation, the disciples would have begun to look quizzically and then accusingly at one another. Then someone might feel the need to say, "Well, don't look at me, I wouldn't do that." Someone else might respond, "Oh, but I would? Listen, I do all the heavy lifting around here. I wouldn't turn on Jesus. So I guess you're Jesus' right-hand man now." Well, maybe I should be. We know this isn't the first time the subject has come up with this group of men. They'd sparred before over who would be most important in the coming kingdom. In this fleeting account, we have all the proof we will ever need that Jesus was like no other human who has ever lived, because instead of shrieking in fury, as I would have done, he creates another teachable moment. Then and now, people in positions of power tend to enjoy their privilege, to expect special treatment, to be served. It's just the way it is. Except that's not the way Jesus does it, and it's not the way of his kingdom. If we think about it, this is far from new. Even if Jesus hadn't explicitly said it several times, which he did, it's the way he lived. When everyone was hungry after a long day of teaching, instead of sending his minions to make dinner, Jesus fed them. When after a long night of healing, Jesus snuck away to be alone with his Father, only to be found by another needy crowd, he reached out his hands to heal them. When he selected his entourage, he didn't select the best and the brightest. He chose regular guys who had very little to offer. He allowed himself to be interrupted by children, lepers, and diseased women. If we take a moment to compare Jesus' leadership philosophy to that of our politicians, celebrities, and business giants, it's pretty much upside down. That's what the kingdom of God is like. Greatness, authority, and position are simply platforms for blessing and serving others. Jesus had captured the imagination of the people. He only had to say the word and they would have started a revolution in his name. The masses adored him. He could have used that to gain wealth and privilege. He didn't, because that's not what leadership is. That's not the purpose of ruling. Jesus was objectively the greatest person who ever lived. If he asked his followers to carry him from town to town, peeling grapes and singing worshipful songs to him, he would have been well within his rights. But he spent his life serving others. He tells his disciples that they will, in fact, rule with him in his kingdom. They've been his friends and helpers, and he loved them and appreciated them. He would honor that by honoring them in the kingdom, but the honor they would receive is the honor of leading the way he leads. I like to think about the kingdom of heaven, about living in a place where there's no war, disease, where people respect and care for one another. I'm not sure I've given much thought to the authority structure of heaven. But here, Jesus pulls back a curtain and gives us a tiny glimpse. There will be people who are given special responsibility. It seems like Jesus' disciples are among them. When Jesus says that they will judge the 12 tribes of Israel, he's almost certainly talking about judging in the sense of being a leader. In Israel, before there were kings, God raised up individuals, often very broken, messed up people, who would lead Israel on his behalf. They were called judges. Their role wasn't delivering verdicts, it was leading Israel when other nations were persecuting them. In heaven, there will be people who will have authority over other people. Here's the thing, there won't be a power struggle, because true leadership is something admirable and beautiful and even self-sacrificial. It's easy to, and even fulfilling, It's easy and even fulfilling to follow people like that. Do you want to be a leader? That's a noble pursuit. Don't do it unless you're willing to allow heaven to define how you will interact with those you lead. Leadership that doesn't follow a heavenly job description is just what we see all around us. People lording their authority over one another. The Last Supper continues. We'll see you next time. Have a good one.